This evening, first, grief has turned to fury. Families of the MV Barima missing reject claims. They support leaving the wreck as a memorial, pleading for the vessel to be raised even if all that comes back is bone or ash. The opposition says a free salvage offer was turned down and the tender process could push recovery to September. Also, still one of the fastest growing economies on earth. The IMF confirms that it grew over 90% last year. Unemployment is falling and the outlook is called highly favorable. But there are warnings too about wages, inflation, and the need for stronger anti-corruption oversight. Then $25 million from cricket to compassion. The Ghana Amazon Warriors and the Global Super League hand over final tickets proceeds to the Heart Initiative, supporting survivors and grieving families of the third tragedy. Meanwhile, 10,000 cannabis plants, 4,000 seedlings, and a drain camp deep in the Upper Berbice River, all destroyed by fire in a dawn-to-dusk police operation worth an estimated $2.4 million in the streets. No arrest, but the investigation continues. And with home ownership slipping out of reach and rents soaring, UK Prime Minister MV Barima pledges the largest social housing program since the Second World War. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for August 3rd, 2026. I'm MV Barima. Thank you for joining us. First up, handcuffed and still waiting for answers. The three men charged with murder over the MV Barima disaster returned to court today, but with only half of the evidence in hand. Justice for 73 lives lost will have to wait until another 5 weeks. The case was adjourned to September 7th after prosecutors said they were not yet ready to hand over all evidence to the defense. The matter was heard today before Magistrate Ravendra Mohabir at the Charity Magistrates Court, with Captain Kevin Price, Chief Mate Rondell Dwayne Roberts, and Goods Superintendent Delon Granderson all appearing virtually while handcuffed. However, only partial disclosure of evidence has so far been provided to the defense teams, meaning the men's lawyers have received just some of the witness statements, documents, and evidence the prosecution plans to use. One of the 15 attorneys representing the men spoke with the media after the hearing.
Today we would have received partial disclosure which contains certain statements and evidence that the police intend to rely on to proffer these charges against the three individuals, or the three crew members and two crew members, and one staff from the transport and harbour, as requested on the last day. The matter has been adjourned to the 7th of September, where we will return to Charity, and we are expecting to get the full disclosure, meaning that all of the evidence that the police is intending to rely on in these charges, we are supposed to receive them.
Following today's proceedings, the defense attorneys noted that they had received only partial evidence and stressed that a criminal charge does not amount to proof of guilt. The accused remain entitled to the presumption of innocence and a fair hearing. The three men are charged with murder in relation to the July 18 sinking of the MV Barima, an 87-year-old ferry that capsized while traveling from Georgetown to Port Kaituma. The disaster has claimed 73 lives, while roughly 30 people still unaccounted for. 76 passengers survived, although one later died. The day after the sinking, Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips disclosed that two crew members, including the captain, had tested positive for narcotics. Officials say the accused continued to receive psychosocial support, and the murder charges were laid following legal advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions. A separate commission of inquiry into the disaster has been established and was formally sworn in last week, though its investigative work has yet to begin. 2 weeks after the MV Barima capsized off northwest coast, killing dozens, grief has curdled into public fury as families of the people still missing reject government claims that they support leaving the wreck as an underwater memorial, instead pleading for the vessel to be raised even if all that's recovered is bone or ash. The Ministry of Public Utilities and Aviation has begun seeking a specialized marine salvage contractor to lift the ferry, which rests in 13 to 15 meters of water off the coast. Farms have until August 14th to submit expressions of interest, after which the government will evaluate proposals before awarding a contract. A timeline opposition member of parliament said could delay actual recovery until late August or September. That delay has enraged both relatives of the missing and opposition politicians. Some families believe they were never given a genuine choice between a memorial site and recovery, and that officials have mischaracterized their wishes. Several families who have already buried young children say they still want the ship raised so remaining relatives can be identified and given a proper burial. Opposition leader Asruddin Mohammed has called for the resignation of Public Works Minister Juan Edgehill, claiming he offered to arrange an immediate, cost-free salvage through an international firm that the government turned down in favor of the tender process. He has also urged families not to sign any settlement documents without independent legal advice. APNU Member of Parliament Ganesh Mahipal has urged the government to bypass the tender entirely and invoke emergency procurement powers, warning that saltwater is steadily degrading evidence the Commission of Inquiry will need. The government has said it will honor families' wishes, whether that means recovery or a permanent memorial, but has not committed to an accelerated timeline. The ferry sinking on July 18th killed dozens of the 179 people confirmed aboard. They prompted a commission of inquiry, which was formally sworn in last week and continues its own independent examination of the disaster. On a different note, Guyana's economy is still growing faster than almost anywhere else in the world, boosted by strong performance in both its oil and non-oil sectors, the International Monetary Fund has said. The economy grew over 19% in 2025, a slowdown from the nearly 40% yearly growth seen in 2023 and 2024, but still remarkable by any country's standards. Oil remains the main engine. Production topped 900,000 barrels a day by the end of 2025, up 35% from the year before, and stayed at similar levels in 2026. But other parts of the economy are growing too. Construction is leading the pack, with farming, mining, and manufacturing also contributing. Some sectors did take a hit in 2026 due to heavy rains. According to the IMF, more people are finding jobs, with unemployment falling to 6.2% by the end of 2025. Prices stayed fairly stable last year, with inflation at 3.3%, though they have started creeping up in 2026 as global food and energy costs rise. The government's finances are looking stronger too. The budget deficit shrank. Oil money more than made up for the lower non-oil revenue, and the country continues stashing oil earnings into its national saving account, the National Research Fund. The IMF lauded this savings discipline, noting Ghana has one of the lowest debt levels in the region. Looking forward, the IMF calls the outlook highly favorable, expecting oil output to keep rising and the rest of the economy to grow around 7% a year over the next 5 years. Still, the fund flagged a few things to watch. Rising wages could hurt Ghana's competitiveness, the currency could come under pressure if oil prices spike, and climate-related disaster remain a risk. The IMF also urged the government to keep strengthening anti-corruption rules, improve oversight of the oil sector, and better target subsidies to those who need them most. Second round when we return, Ghana Amazon warriors ExxonMobil donates $25 million to MV Barima Survivor Support Fund, and police destroyed over 10,000 suspected cannabis plants in Upper Berbice River.
Good girl forget things.
What's the
problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. The Ghana Amazon Warriors and ExxonMobil Ghana Global Super League have donated $25 million to the government's Heart Initiative, which supports survivors and families affected by the MV Barima ferry tragedy. The check was handed over during the closing ceremony of the Global Super League of the National Stadium in Providence, fulfilling a pledge by the cricket team and tournament organizers to give all proceeds from the final cricket ticket sales to victims of the disaster. The Heart Initiative, short for Hope, Empathy, Aid, Resilience, and Trust, was set up by President Dr. Mohamed Fanali to provide long-term care for those affected by the sinking, including humanitarian aid, trauma counseling, social services, and spiritual support. President Ali has stressed that the initiative is not meant to serve as financial compensation, but rather as a demonstration of the country's ongoing commitment to standing by survivors and grieving families. Ali has also announced a new national body comprising religious leaders and civil society figures that will oversee and coordinate the initiative in the future. He has appealed to citizens, businesses, and other organizations to provide further support as the country continues to respond to the disaster. The MV Barima, a passenger and cargo ferry, capsized off the Essequibo coast on July 18th, killing dozens and leaving several families still searching for missing loved ones. Since then, the government has rolled out a wide-ranging response effort, combining emergency relief, counseling services, and the newly launched Heart Initiative to support long-term recovery for those affected. In other news, police ranks led by a gazetted officer carried out a joint cannabis eradication exercise at Friendship Sandhill Village and Waruni Savannah in the Upper Berbice River area, running from 5 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 30th. At Friendship Sandhill Village, officers found a roughly 2-acre field containing an estimated 10,000 suspected cannabis plants, standing between 2 and 4 feet tall. They also uncovered a makeshift camp and a nursery holding over 4,000 suspected cannabis seedlings. At Waruni Savannah, ranks located a drying camp measuring roughly 40 by 15 feet, containing a quantity of suspected dried cannabis leaves. All of the suspected plants, seedlings, dried cannabis, along with the makeshift and drying camps, were destroyed by fire during the operation. No arrests were made, and police said the exercise was carried out without incidents. The estimated street value of the narcotics destroyed is put at close to $2.4 million in Ghana currency. Investigations into the matter are continuing. Don't go away after the break. 2 firefighting helicopters crash while Greece fights coastal wildfires. And Ceuta migration crisis, dozens dead after mass bordering cross.
Problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
jewelry and pawn shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Kittens. Tonight, Jamaica backs its students in Cuba as the island's energy crisis deepens. 2 firefighting helicopters collide over Greece's raging wildfires. Thousands of migrants swim towards Spain's Ceuta in a humanitarian emergency. And Britain's new Prime Minister vows the biggest social housing push since World War II. We will start in the Caribbean, where the Jamaican government says it remains committed to supporting approximately 270 Jamaican students studying in Cuba as the island's severe energy crisis disrupts education and daily life. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamala Johnson-Smith said students facing difficulties can access assistance, including travel support. Jamaica has also contributed $100,000 in humanitarian assistance to Cuba through CARICOM as the regional bloc responds to the island's growing needs. 2 firefighting helicopters collide mid-air and crash during Greece's desperate battle to contain fast-moving wildfires near Porto Germino. Al Jazeera's Joel Evans reports.
In the scramble to contain Greece's wildfires, the fatal moment 2 helicopters collided into each other mid-air, sending both crashing to the ground. They were part of a massive firefighting effort as hundreds of crews tried to control a wildfire near the coast some 70 kilometres away from the Greek capital.
It was like Dante's Inferno on Friday, within 20 minutes.
The Civil Protection Minister said wildfires have pushed the fire department to its limits. People in the area have also taken up the fight.
They can't be everywhere at once. As residents, we're doing everything we can.
Strong winds of up to 100 kilometres per hour have fanned the flames, helping it to spread. More than 100 homes in the area of Porto Germano have been damaged or destroyed.
We've got another house to go to.
Police were going door to door telling people to get out as the flames closed in on Saturday. The Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said on Facebook that there are moments when nature and the intensity of weather phenomena surpass any human planning and any operational capability. But in Europe this summer, those moments have been many. In France, in the Var region, some returned home to take stock after wildfires ripped through here too.
Our house had a really close call. When we look at the surrounding area, we realise how much danger we were in.
The megafire in the southwest region of Gironde destroyed 42,000 hectares, and more than a dozen people died in Spain's wildfires in July. That's after Europe's record high temperatures and drought, creating the perfect conditions for wildfires to spread, even in places where they were once rare. Now becoming a new normal as climate change makes extreme weather more common. Camille Nedelec, Al Jazeera.
Thousands of migrants attempted to reach the Spain enclave of Ceuta by swimming from Morocco, triggering a humanitarian emergency and renewed political debate over migration in Europe. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hall reports.
What began like this on Thursday, thousands of people swimming to breach the sea border between Morocco and Spain's African territory of Ceuta, has turned to relative calm. Amid the detritus of flippers and rubber floating aids, there's a brand new sea barrier intended to prevent this sort of incursion from happening again. As quickly as they came, it seemed, most have now left, crossing the border back into Morocco on foot, ushered on by Spanish troops.
Why did so many people come?
Because here is future, here is humanity, here is all things you need.
They found no sanctuary or opportunity here, just heat, thirst and a hostile reception. Many indicated they would simply try again. Despite which, the Spanish government says the border is now back under control. Attempts to reach Europe are nothing new here in Ceuta. It's the size that's different. Mostly young men in their tens of thousands, drawn this time, says the Spanish government, by gangs and people smugglers taking advantage of a Supreme Court decision offering protection to those arriving by sea. But critics of the socialist government point to its own recent decision to legalise 500,000 undocumented migrants and add them to the workforce. And for parties on the right in Spain and across Europe, these scenes have been seized upon as a political opportunity.
This is the biggest crisis that Ceuta has ever faced. There are 60,000 people that have invaded a Spanish and European territory, and this government that says it has restored normality is the same government that couldn't prevent the invasion.
This woman, a joint Dutch-Moroccan citizen, said it was all a game. Do you think they were told to come?
Yes.
By whom?
Yes.
By whom?
I don't know. I don't know, but I saw it on Instagram. Everybody told them, come to Spain, you will have work, you will have a good future. It's a political game.
Specialist divers are finding more victims, the death toll rising to several dozen, either by drowning or in Thursday's crush to get ashore. This game, if it is one, has real and tragic consequences. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Ceuta, Spain.
The UK is facing a severe housing crisis as buying a home becomes unaffordable and rents continue to rise. With housing targets falling behind, Prime Minister Andy Burnham pledges the largest social housing program since the Second World War. Al Jazeera's Rory Chadlands reports.
Britain's new Prime Minister wants to turn back the clock, not to the Blairite 90s, certainly not to the Thatcherite 80s. Andy Burnham wants to return to a time when Britain was building houses like these and this in the millions.
Working with local areas, Number 10 North will oversee the biggest council house building programme since the post-war period.
So what even is a council home? Well, I'm on the Aylesbury estate in Southwark, which is an inner city London borough, and this is James McCash, who is the council leader. James, you are a council leader. What is a council home?
Well, council home is essentially a home built by the council, by the local authority, for social purposes. It's about recognising that the private sector market isn't going to provide housing for everyone who needs it, so someone needs to step in, and traditionally in Britain that's been local authorities.
The UK began clearing dilapidated neighbourhoods for social housing in the late 1800s, but their heyday came after World War II. Between 1946 and 1980, some 4.4 million council homes were built. In 1954, almost 200,000 went up in a single year. So woven into the fabric of post-war British life was the council house that at their peak, 1 in 3 British families lived in one. But in 1980, everything changed, and this house near Romford in Essex had a part to play in that. Margaret Thatcher came here to pose with the Pattersons, a family who just bought the house off the council as part of the Prime Minister's Right to Buy scheme. See, Thatcher wanted a housing revolution, a nation of home owners, not renters. And en masse, tenants started buying their houses off the council at big discounts. A success as far as she saw it, but for Britain's supply of council housing, it was devastating.
Over time, those homes that were initially bought by those council tenants became sold to private landlords and then essentially recreated the problem of soaring rent, unaffordable housing that social housing was originally created to stop.
So is building more council homes the answer?
We absolutely need to build more council housing. Council housing is the gold standard of affordable housing. We need it across the country and we desperately need it in inner city places like Southwark.
But actually doing it will be a huge challenge. Over the years, local authorities have been stripped of money, power and expertise. Building on such a scale is beyond their current capabilities. Right to buy and land rules would need reform, funding would need to be found. No recent government has managed to fix Britain's housing crisis. Andy Burnham is the latest to try. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera in London.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day forecast. And that's it to TV2 Headline News for this Monday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.